You know that feeling when you're standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon? We're staring up at some impossibly huge mountain, and you just feel tiny? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the colossal forces, the fire from deep below and the ice from high above that actually built and carved those incredible landscapes.
We've all had that moment, right? You're looking at some epic natural wonder, feeling totally dwarfed by it, and you just think, how? What could possibly create something like this? Well, the answer is a wild story of fire, ice, and mind-boggling pressure playing out over millions and millions of years. So here's a cool way to think about it. Imagine the Earth is a living piece of art. Deep inside, you have these powerful, constructive forces pushing things up, making the big, bold strokes. But then on the surface, you have forces like wind and water acting like the fine artists, constantly sculpting and refining all the little details. Okay, let's dive in, starting from the bottom up. Literally, we're going down into the engine room of our planet to talk about the tectonic forces that are always at work right under our feet. You see, the surface of the Earth isn't one solid shell. It's actually broken up into these gigantic pieces, kind of like a cracked eggshell, called tectonic plates. They're all constantly, slowly drifting around. And it's how they bump and grind against each other that creates the biggest features on our entire world. It really all comes down to a planetary scale game of push and pull. When two plates converge, that is, they crash into each other, the rock has nowhere to go but up. And that's how you get massive mountain ranges like the Himalayas. But when they diverge or pull apart, magma from the mantle oozes up to fill the gap, creating brand new crust, usually way down on the ocean floor. And things get really explosive when a heavy oceanic plate smashes into a lighter continental one. The oceanic plate gets forced down deep into the Earth's super-hot mantle, where it literally melts into magma. All that pressure has to go somewhere, right? So it forces that molten rock up through cracks in the crust, and boom, you've got a volcano. This exact process is what creates the famous Pacific Ring of Fire. So, okay, tectonic forces are the builders. They raise the world up. But what about the forces that carve it all into the beautiful, intricate shapes we see? For that, we've got to look at the patient but incredibly powerful work of ice and water. I absolutely love this way of seeing it. Tectonics gives you the raw, giant block of stone, but erosion, powered by glaciers, rivers, and wind, that's the artist's chisel, carving out the masterpiece. And let me tell you, one of the most powerful chisels in nature's toolkit is a glacier. Now, this is not just a big ice cube. We're talking about the weight of centuries of snow compressed into this dense, unbelievably heavy river of ice that just grinds and scours away everything in its path. And what's really cool is you can actually see the difference in their work. A river, over time, cuts a really sharp, narrow path, creating a classic V-shaped valley. A glacier, though, it's more like a giant bulldozer. It just plows through, carving out a super wide, rounded, U-shaped valley. Erosion is also a fantastic storyteller. It shows you the passage of time. You can see landscapes that start out as a huge, high plateau. Give it a few millennia of wind and water, and that gets worn down into a smaller, flat-topped hill called a mesa. And given even more time, all that might be left is a single, lonely tower of rock called a butte. It's the exact same rock, just in different chapters of its life story. So what's the secret ingredient in all this sculpting? It's time. A truly mind-bending amount of time. A simple river, just flowing day after day for millions of years, has enough persistent power to slice right through solid rock and create something as vast and as jaw-dropping as the Grand Canyon. So where do all these powerful rivers eventually end up? They head for the most dynamic, chaotic place on the entire planet, the coastline. This is where all those forces we've talked about are locked in a constant, dramatic tug-of-war. Seriously, this place is a battleground. You've got the land being pushed up from below by tectonics and volcanoes. At the exact same time, it's being relentlessly hammered and worn away by waves and currents from above. The result is a landscape that is literally changing every single day. And this constant battle creates some incredible things. Where a river finally meets the calm ocean, it slows down and drops all the sand and dirt it was carrying, forming a delta. Those relentless waves crashing on the shore, they carve out steep cliffs. Islands can be born when an underwater volcano pokes its head above the water, or they can be old pieces of the mainland that got cut off by erosion. And when you get a whole chain of islands together, that's called an archipelago.
Even the shape of the coastline tells you something. Think of a gulf as a huge, deep slice where the ocean takes a massive bite out of a continent. A bay is more like its gentler cousin, usually a wider, more semicircular curve in the land. They're both just inlets, but you can see they have totally different personalities. All right, so we've looked at how individual landforms get made, but what happens when you zoom out and put it all together on a global scale? Well, you get entire worlds within our world. See, a mountain range isn't just a big pile of rocks. It's a weather-making machine that can change wind patterns and block rain for hundreds of miles. A volcano creates brand new, super fertile soil. These geological processes are the true architects of our planet's incredibly diverse climates and habitats. Just take deserts. You might think a desert is a desert, right? Hot and sandy? Well, turns out there are a few different recipes. You've got your subtropical deserts, like the Sahara, which are there because of huge high-pressure air zones that just stop clouds from ever forming. Then you have rain shadow deserts, like the Gobi, which are dry because a massive mountain range blocks all the rain. There are even coastal deserts, like the Atacama, where cold ocean currents create a lot of fog, but no actual rain. And then you have the biggest desert on Earth, Antarctica. It's a polar desert because the air is just too cold to hold any moisture. And then on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have rainforests. Instead of blocking moisture, their location near the equator guarantees them tons of rain and constant heat and humidity. That combination is the perfect recipe for a literal explosion of life, which is why rainforests are home to a huge majority of all the species on our planet. So, from the incredible pressure that crumples the crust into mountains, to the patient drip of water that carves a canyon, these forces are always working, always changing things. The planet we're looking at right now is just one single frame in a movie that's billions of years long. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of masterpiece is the Earth going to sculpt next?